Hello world, welcome to my stream, to the Friday stream. How are you all doing? So I've seen that there's some new followers. Let me thank you first. So thank you for following, starting with Robin 54, thank you for following. Pablo Kushu, thank you for following. And Vogelfrei basically followed and subscribed. Thank you very much, it's very much appreciated. And Dragon Dust, also welcome to the stream. Thank you for saying hi in the chat. So as always, we're going to continue streaming, and usually I try to do some app review or code review of indie developers apps. Today we don't have any prepared because there was no requested, so I don't have any further reviews in my backlog. So if you are interested in me doing an app review, like a first impressions app review, you can check out my older videos to see how I'm doing that. If you're interested in that, make sure to ping me, to write me on Twitter. And if you're interested also in the code review, which is something new that I'm trying to do, and this is open for basically everybody who's not like working in a large company code base, because I don't want to deal with that. But like if you're an indie developer, or if you're just working on some hobby project and you just want to see me like improve your code, do some refactoring, or do more like a rating of your code, so whichever you prefer, either refactoring or rating, also ping me on Twitter and then we can have a look at that, and I would start one of my future streams with that instead. But today we're going to fully focus on the Open Focus Timer, which is an app that I'm developing for myself, which is open source, so you can check it out if you just write, let me write exclamation mark project in the chat so you can get the link to that project with some details. And that's what we're going to work on today, what we're going to totally focus on. And this is the summary of our last stream, so from our stream from Wednesday. Yeah, let's have a look at it. And one thing that's definitely missing here is the barcodes app review, which we did last time. So we worked on that, we did that review, which actually took 1.5 hours, so it's kind of getting long. I'm trying to make that shorter. Next we have we made sure that we do not save any reflections, and reflection is a feature of our Open Focus Timer where you can basically give this kind of reflection, progress, problems, learnings, and next steps when you end a session, so you have some things to relate to what you did there, and that this can be shown somewhere. And we made sure that the strings that are empty, that we don't store them. Then refactoring some repeated code in the relation bindings of the focus timer. We actually had a learning here because for refactoring that code, we had to apply or use writable key paths in the function as parameters, and that was definitely something interesting I haven't done before. I knew that this feature existed, but I never had a use case. Now I had it, and then we learned last stream how to do that. Then we added all test targets to the related app or module target, so we can just click like Command U for running the unit tests. And in the Xcode basically ran all our tests because we have a modularized app with many modules. I don't want to run like open each module separately and run them, so we put them all in one target. And last but not least, we set up GitHub Actions CI, continuous integration, for the app basically from scratch. And I think that this part actually is a cool part that also worked pretty quickly, and it could be something that I might even upload as a separate video on YouTube. I'm planning to upload some of my learnings or some of the things that I'm doing during the stream as separate videos. I just didn't have the time to do that, but this is definitely a part that I think will be released as a separate video sometime in the future. So we did not have any problems or blockers last time. Things were going quite smoothly actually. We were fixing problems from before, and next steps basically that we still had going that we didn't do yet is just fix more warnings, because we basically, whenever there is something I'm not sure how I should continue there, or I just don't have the time to fix that right now, I just write a warning comment and then we have a warning showing in Xcode. Maybe we should fix some of them right now. I will have a look at that, so this is definitely one thing we could continue at, or we could just add more features. So let's have a look at what the current state of the app is. But before I get started, quick reminder of the links. So if you don't follow me yet, make sure to follow me on these links. These are my socials. This is Medium. I am writing more regularly on Medium, and I actually published a article very recently with the learnings that we had during the stream, and between the streams I continued on that. It's this article, so definitely check it out. There's some learnings in there. And I also have some older articles you might find interesting, like multi-selector in SwiftUI, hiding secrets from Git in SwiftPM. I also actually designed my own priority strategy concept, because I didn't like any of those that I found out there. This is also an interesting article if you want to check that out, and some more like topics you can find here. Check that out on jihad.medium.com. Then obviously follow my Twitter, my handle is @jihad, and on YouTube you can find me, my name is FlyingDev. But that out of the way, let's open the project and let's get started again. I just want to run the app just so we can see what the current state is. Maybe I have already something right in my mind. This is the next thing we should do. But let's see. So this is the app, and to run the app we have to choose, for example, macOS app target, and I will just run Command R. And as a reminder, because Vogelfrei has subscribed with Amazon Prime, if you have Amazon Prime, you can actually give me a subscription for free, and that's an easy way to support me. And how to do that, let me just give you the command here. In case you have that, there's a free way to support me once a month. Okay, this is what the app looks like right now. We have this timer, we have the timer running. It's not looking great, but it's working. And we can pause it, we can start it again. I don't like this icon. Actually, this should be a pause icon. I don't know why it's a stop icon. Let me see if I can quickly fix that. So let's go into our sources, and it's obviously in the timer feature. Oh, Vogelfrei is writing in the chat. Hey G, I saw that you'll stream on Twitter. I'm sorry, but I have not much time right now, but wanted to say thank you for your work on your apps and all the questions you answer and trying to help other devs. Great that you like that. But I'd like to ask one or two questions. First, everyone is teaching how to get things done in Swift and techniques, but I find it very hard to learn how to order and structure projects when they grow bigger. Any thoughts how to get better at this? Okay, so that's an interesting question. Let's get on that, because you also have to leave, and thank you again for supporting. So there is no silver bullet answer there. There is no like this is the one structure you should strive for, and there are many solutions out there that work for different purposes better and worse. I think the most important thing is that you make sure that you can basically understand your code, you can navigate your code, and also you can test your code. Those are like the I think the three most important things to make sure. And whatever concept or structure you might find out there, if you find any, make sure that these three things are filled. So you have to understand it easily, and anybody who opens the project should be able to kind of guess and understand how the structure is looking like. Second is it should be what was the second? I forgot, but the third is definitely it should be testable. So you should structure it in a way that you can test smaller parts independently from each other. And the second I mentioned, let me think about. So important is that you can navigate. So it's easy to navigate also, that you, for example, if you want to fix a specific feature, you know where to look. It should be clear where to look. And I will give you like how I do it, because as I said, there are many out there who are structuring, but the way I do it is basically if I have a project, and this is not a large project yet, but I'm already starting it and trying to structure it in a way that it can grow over time. So the way I do it, I first, obviously there are like different parts for tests and sources, but for like tests and sources, when you have a large app, it's really, really important that you make clear which tests belong to which sources. And my approach there is to name things and give the structure the exact same structure. So this is like one tip, is that if you have model tests here, for example, and you have the model here, the structure should be the same. If I have color X tests, it should be in the same path as in my model, and this is model tests. Then I have extensions here, and in the extensions I have the color X. No, I don't. I actually put it in a helper later, so this is something we should fix here. So good point here. Let's go and rename this. So it should just have the same structure. This is to make things easy to find. Then and the second thing is that I'm basically saying, okay, I want to structure my app, and in this case I'm doing it with Swift Package Manager. You don't have to use Swift Package Manager and different packages. I have described this in like previous streams, you can look them up on YouTube, but I'm basically using the modularization approach that is suggested by, let me show you, by Point Free. And it's one of their few free videos actually. If you want to check that out, just scroll down here until you find modularization part 1. So this is a free episode, and this explains how they structure and break down their apps into small chunks that are independently testable. And this is definitely something I am using now and I can recommend. It has some quirks because it's relatively new, but that's always the case if something is new. But basically the idea is to break down your app into smaller parts, and if you put it into different modules like I do here, or if you just have one target, one app target, and you have like groups, just like folders there, and you group it like that, that doesn't really matter. This is a little bit cleaner because, for example, if I want to use something from the utility module inside my model, then I have to import it. So you'll find, like if I just search for import utility, for example here, I am using something from the utility and I have to import it, otherwise I can't use it. And that makes sure that I never use something from utility accidentally. And I have to always explicitly think about, okay, which part should have access to which part. And that really makes it, if you have a growing app, really makes it more clear what this feature is actually depending on. It makes it easier to test, makes it easier to, like, there are general rules also to follow that are just software principles that help you there. But just, we're talking about the structure, just structure your things. And this will help a lot when your app grows. And the next thing is, try to think about what really belongs together. So if you have, for example, the model layer, you have a layer of your app which is about the different models in your app. I have like a focus timer object, I have a category for it, and things like that. If you have these, make sure that you put them together and you try to keep them apart from any other layers, like the UI layer. You don't give any access inside the model layer to the UI layer. That's like a very important thing. The UI layer might need the model because they are showing data, but the model should never know like what your UI looks like. And this way you can basically make sure that this is easy to test, easy to understand, also independent from other parts. So model layer is one thing. You can find, you will also find that in basically every project you want to have some kind of utility part where you just put some reusable parts, like this app environment. I'm using that in many places, and I'm sure I will add over time some more things here, like extensions to string, for example, things like that, that you have something like that can you reuse everywhere. And otherwise, as you can see, I'm splitting things by features. So I have this reflection feature, and using the composable architecture, which is an app architecture. So again, this is from Point Free. If you go to their collections, you'll find this composable architecture, and if you scroll all down and click on a tour, you'll find these are also free videos, 4 free videos which explain this architecture. And you don't have to use this architecture, you can also use other architectures. There are many of them. Just search for iOS app architecture and you'll find multiple of them which you can use. In this case, I'm using this one, which has reducer, store, and view. That's how I'm at least naming the types. And then I have one feature, and this feature is separately listed here. This has to, of course, import some things. For example, the store imports model and utility, but I'm not importing any other features, at least in this feature. Like in the timer feature, if I go into the view here, you'll see that it is importing the reflection feature. And that's because I am in the timer feature, navigating to the reflection feature. And that's like, our things can be dependent on each other, but you should be always clear about your dependencies. And that's why I really like splitting these things up into modules, to make sure that I'm always clear about it and I can test them also separately. That's like the tips I have so far. Other than that, just follow best practices. Like, I don't know, the best practices in programming. But that's like a more general tip. All best practices are made for like making apps scalable and things like that. So that's my general idea and tips here to answer your question. I hope that this helps a little bit. And basically how you get better at these things is first experience. You'll find, basically you will run into problems, and then you will solve them, and you will learn by seeing the problems and solving them, like how you should structure things. And second is just follow like basically architectures, best practices, because they basically are based on experiences that other developers have made in the past. They are not coming like falling from the sky and they're like, okay, now we're going to do it this way. The people had problems, and then they had to solve it somehow, and they basically tried to extract the common things that they learned in many different situations, and this is what was called a best practice. And that's why you should really read up about best practices, read many blog posts, blog articles. For example, if I have a learning, as I said in my when I linked here, whenever I have a learning, I try to share it with others. So for example, I ran into a problem here, I try to write about the solution. And this way you will find many articles, and you can find many articles in the iOS dev directory, for example. You can find many blogs of developers on this website, which are writing regularly, or you just follow newsletters. There are many newsletters that are also great. Just subscribe to them and you'll learn over time. So that's how you can do that. If you have a more specific question, feel free to ask me. Okay, so we have Ustem Ahmed, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Are you an iOS developer as well, or Swift developer? More generally. Okay, let's get back to the app, and I basically wanted to run the app. Thank you very much for your time. This was really helpful. I hope so. Yes, of course. Nice. Hey Megan, how are you doing? How's your day going? That answer was very helpful. I'm trying to help. If you have more specific questions, I can give more specific answers. This was more like a general guide there, but yeah, always happy to help. That's why we're streaming. Yeah, I want to have a look at my app here and just decide like what is the next step I want to do. Good, just getting started on some projects. Cool. Any new projects or continuing on other projects? Welcome, Dragon Dust. I come across your profile in Stack Overflow sometimes. Yeah, I do write also answers on Stack Overflow. Okay. So we have a timer here. Yeah, I wanted to fix the icon because when we click break, and the pause icon has a stop icon, the pause button I mean. I quickly want to fix that. So also our SwiftUI preview should work now. So let's go to the timer feature and run the preview so we can see what we have there. So we are using the stop fill, yeah, let's just use pause fill. And then if we change the state, let's actually just run this. I think we can run it in here too. Even bring forward. Oh, that's interesting. These previews have some weird bugs. Anyways, let me just run the Mac app. Existing projects, but nothing I can really share. I see. Cool. So Ustem Ahmed, did you actually find me through Stack Overflow, or did you like find my stream from somewhere else? That would be interesting to know. Have you ever developed any Mac for macOS? I did technically, but it was just like some app like this, which is just working from the menu bar. So it has some UI, but it was just showing here. It was very simple. It was a sports notification tracker. If you just search for, I think it was called sports notification. I don't remember the name. Notifier or something like that. I think SNN was the initials. But it's no longer online because I was using some free web scraping there, and then I wanted to add an official API, and it was just too expensive. Like sports APIs with like live scores. I think it was Sports Score Notifier. Sports Score Notifier on Mac App Store. I also follow you on Twitter, that's great. This is not my app, but this is it, I think. So somebody wrote about it, I just see. Yeah, this is basically the app. I had written, and as you can see, very basic. It's also quite a few years ago. Basically, I was I was at a university in a library, and one of my friends there in the library was learning with their Mac in front of them, and they also wanted to know about like their favorite team's current scores. And I just said like, hey, I could write an app for you, and I just wrote the app for them, and yeah, it was good enough to put it on the store. It was working. As you can see, you could like choose your teams and things like that. Multiple teams were supported, and then you could see like basically you would get push notifications. Oh, App Store targetable. That's how you learn about me. Cool. Yeah, I'm also, that's true. That maybe it's not the it's not very useful maybe for an English audience, but well, I am actually now also a part of a podcast, so you can see the App Store Tagebuch basically means diary. It's just a German podcast about some app developers, or with some app developers, with Holger and Nico. And they had this podcast. They invited me. They want to interview me because I had developed the tool Body Crouch. And then after this interview, they basically asked me if I want to join them and do this like long term and be a guest for basically the future as well. And so we actually released another podcast episode yesterday, and I am now basically part of this podcast. I'm trying to give some Swift evolution news there. That's like my take there. And yeah, if you want to follow that, also check out this podcast, but it's in German, so just to say that. So I think we have fixed the icon there. Let me run the app. And you are not staying so far from me. You mean like living? I do live in Karlsruhe, so you are also close to Karlsruhe. Are you living in Baden-Württemberg in Germany too? There you go. This is a better icon for a pause button. Yeah, cool. So not very far. So we fixed this. What else do we want to do? So if I want to use this app, obviously this thing here on the side, it just doesn't look well. So I think I'm going to focus a little bit on the UI now, just improving the UI to get it into a little bit more usable state. And then we're going to maybe add some navigation. So for example, when we end the timer, it asks me this or something like that. So maybe let's just focus on that. Let's just skip the warnings for now. And let's add the to-do. Improve ugly UI to simple but still not great UI to be. Yeah, let's make it usable basically. So let's copy these and let's create our new session summary document. This is open focus timer. Part 11. Time's passing quite fast. These are the to-dos, and this is looking good. And let's focus on that now. Okay, how can we do that? I'm living in Allgäu. Cool. Allgäu is a nice place to live, I think. Also, I'm looking forward to hear more from you. Looking forward to it as well. The podcast is definitely something new to me also. Let's see how that will go in the future. Okay, what's the worst thing? I think the worst thing is that we have this navigation thing. So let's try to get rid of that first. The question is why is it showing in the first place? Like when I run the iOS application. Oh, we have a error. Okay, it requires me to sign because I wanted to run it on my Mac. I want to run it on the iPhone simulator though. It should work now. Okay, starting the simulator. See what it looks like on iOS. So if you fix it on one platform, I don't want to break it on the other. It's a good idea to check it on both. See what it looks like on iOS at the moment. Okay, so we see that we definitely have a UI issue here. It's even a scroll view. I never implemented a scroll view, but it is scrollable. and we have this view. It's showing top bottom like it is here, but we don't have any navigation. Okay, I'm following Pomodoro here, so quick break and I'll be back in less than 3 minutes. See you soon. Back from stretching and some fresh air. That's always a great thing to do. Okay, so we were at the UI, and I see Ustam Ahmed wrote, we can know each other one day, maybe when I come to there. Yeah, sure, you never know how things evolve, and the world is small, like we like to say in Germany, so we could meet in some way. Yeah, let's get rid of this weird thing here. I think this is related to a navigation view. So let's check out if you're using navigation view anywhere. We do have it in the app entry point. I wonder if I just use a different navigation style. Navigation view style. And let's just use back and see if that changes. Well, let's do it on the macOS app, of course. There we go. Ersin KHR, selamlar kardeşim. Kullandığın kaynakları tweetinin altına ekleyebilir misin? Az önce tanıttığın. So they're basically saying hi and asking for the URLs that I have just shown, if I could share them on Twitter. Yeah, sure, I could share them on Twitter. Let me actually add a note here to my to-dos maybe. So you're asking for like point-free links. What else did I show? Maybe I can check it later, etc. Share on Twitter. Good idea. Thank you very much, Ersin KHR. And yeah, I'll do that, and make sure to follow to not miss any of my future streams. And I can also actually I don't have any links prepared, but I will maybe prepare links as well. Anyhow, let's try this stack. And it's saying it's not even available on macOS. This is interesting. So we only have automatic and columns. So there is only columns available on macOS. Maybe we have to actually get rid of the navigation view on macOS. Let's see what the view will look like without the navigation view. Okay, so we have the view only then. Is this what we want? Do we need like a sidebar on the Mac? I'm not sure if we really need that. Let's get back to our summary document here. We could theoretically put the timer on one side and like the details on the other side, but I'm not really sure if that's the way I want to do it. Probably we will use a sidebar for like navigating through different screens, maybe like through statistics. I mean, just going back at the features that we want to add. Want to have the reflection, that's what we have with the text fields. We want to have the Pomodoro timer, that's the timer. We want to have categories, so that's something we haven't added, that's some UI missing. But history and statistics, we want to have them as well. The question is, do we want to show like the timer in a separate window? Maybe the history and statistics are just elsewhere, so we have the timer separately. Or do we want to have it all in one window and we have like on the left sidebar of these entries? And I think I want to have the timer as a separate window. And I think this is basically the UI that we have currently in the Flow app that we're using as a timer. And if we click on statistic, okay, they are using the same window. But I think I don't want to have that. I want to have window extra. Because I might want to like dig into the data there and still want the timer running. So I think this is, and let's focus on that first. So the history and statistics, we will just create a new window for that later. On the iOS app, we could just add like tabs at the bottom, for example, to switch between those different nodes, because we can't have multiple apps here, multiple windows. I think that's how I want to do it. That means that for this view here, we don't need a navigation view, at least not for now. So I will just get rid of it, just remove it. Indent, and there we go. So we have fixed the sidebar issue then. And I believe on iOS this shouldn't basically change, it should just look the same on that as well. Yeah, it's looking the same. Cool. Now next we could basically make sure that this is not using, this is really weird, we're using the whole width. Maybe we can fix that now. And it doesn't have any padding, it looks like. And here it doesn't fit the screen. So maybe we can check, we can fix that as well. So I'm guessing that this is in the reflection view, in the reflection feature. And we could just use the previews for that. I just open the reflection view. We just continue running the preview. And we can see what we're doing here. And we have a form. So that's the view style we're using. And then this is the extracted code where we use the key path that we have implemented last time. Oh no, this is not even the key path, sorry. That wasn't the reducer. This is just a simple function. Okay, this is what it should look like. So in the preview, it looks like I would expect it to look like this. But in the actual app, it's not looking like this. Maybe because this is like shown from a different screen. Maybe that's why. So if it's basically if it's in a group, then it works. What if I remove the group here in the preview? Still works. But the group is not really needed here. And okay, next thing I want to do, actually before I continue, I want to see in the previews also the dark mode, if the dark mode is working. I don't know if I have something here that helps with that. Do I have something like a view extension? I have not. I have one. Oh, okay, this is implemented in handy SwiftUI. And actually, I think there is something for previews here as well. Let's search for preview. No, not really. Okay, but I do want to improve this. So what we can do to show the dark mode as well, we can just create a group. And then we can say, okay, we want to have one view and another view, and this other view, we want to change it to the dark mode style. And I'm just going to do this here in the editor right away. I think I can click here and just say I want the scheme to be dark, and it will change the color here to preferred color scheme. I don't know why we have free entries, and this is basically how I can do it, to have like the previews of both, and then I can basically see them move. I'm not sure how we can show them side by side. I would actually prefer side by side. Is that possible somehow? Not sure. Let me see. Show UI preview group side by side. Okay, they are using an H stack for that. So it's not technically anymore a like yeah, I think it will not show the borders of the device then anymore. If I just say H stack and I just move this code up there inside it, this is a problem. So it's not using different devices. Yeah, I think it's not possible. But anyways, we still have them here like this. We can at least turn it around. But I'm not sure if that's any useful. I think most users are using iPhones in the portrait mode, so we should have the previews in the portrait mode. That's the default using. We could also have a look at the Mac preview as well, and we might actually want to see everything at once. So if I change to Mac here, the previews will automatically change to a Mac device. Just refresh that. It should update actually to show the Mac live. Not doing it, I'm not sure why. There you go. So I also don't know why this has this weird height. That's another thing we want to fix, but let's focus on this part first. And as you can see, they are both looking the same. So this above them top one is also in dark mode. And I think it's in dark mode because my system is in dark mode. Ahaha, interesting. Preferred color scheme. Let's make it explicitly in night mode. So now we have both previews and we can see them. And we can already see there's like, it's like cutting right there. So I think it's a good idea to have some padding outside of it here. And I'm just going to add it to my with view store. So we have some padding around. It's nicer. Cool. The question is though, how does this look on iOS? And I now want to have both macOS and iOS previews without having to switch here. And I think that this is possible if I just define a device here. And again, we could just use this here, make it more explicit. And we can choose a device here. And in this case, I want to have the device Mac. There is no Mac listed here. This is interesting. Can I outset it to a Mac? Ali Pacman, welcome to the stream and thank you for subscribing. Thank you very much. It's so much appreciated. Really great. And how are you doing? How's your day going? Thank you for following Asin KHR. Thank you very much. I'm going to try if I can actually change this and say something like, I mean, this is called my Mac here. So maybe I can just use my Mac and resume the previews. Okay, it is. I'm not sure if it's working as long as I don't change. So if I change to iPhone now, let's see what I will see here. Okay, I am getting an error. Ustem Ahmed, thank you also for following. Thank you very much. Thanks, my day is going good. Just wrote my last exam for the semester and it went very, very good. That's great to hear. What was your topic of the exam? What was the module's name? But that's always great. So where are you studying? Are you studying computer science? Is that what you're doing? I want to see the diagnostics now and let's see if this is any useful. No preview infos. Run destination. Okay, okay. Yeah, this is not really useful. It might not be named My Mac though, because we had the same problem when we wrote our test that it did not recognize My Mac as an actual device. So maybe we need to tell something else here. It was really interesting. So computer vision, mostly level and low level stuff, computer science master in Hamburg. Cool. It was really interesting. Yeah. Computer vision is great. I mean, it's related a lot to machine learning. I think in computer vision, there's a lot of machine learning going on. And it's a really cool topic. It's a lot of mathematics though, I think. So you had to do a lot of these things, I guess. I am new here. I didn't realize the following feature. I assume myself as a follower. Thank you very much for following. Yeah, Twitch is not known to everybody. And actually, let me write here commands, because actually Twitch has a lot of features that are like there for interacting with the streamer. And you can find some of the commands there and just play around with it and have fun with the others in the chat as well. So make sure to check that out as well. So this didn't work. Let me actually see if I can find a list of preview devices. SwiftUI, preview device, Mac. Can we do that? Preview device, volume, raw value, Mac. Oh, just Mac. Okay, Mac works. Let's see about that. Okay, it says it should work, but this is no Mac here. This is not a Mac. And I can see with the padding that we have added on the outside, we are now running into a problem with the form. So if you look at this, a little bit bigger style, we have this extra white thing out there, and I don't want to have that. So let's move the padding. Let's just move it like this. Inside the form maybe, or just the form itself? I think inside the form. So the things in the form should have padding. But at the same time, we just want to have the padding on macOS. I think on iOS, if we are having the form, it already gets a padding automatically, right? If we just comment this out. Yeah, we don't need the padding, so we just want to have padding on macOS. And actually in Handy SwiftUI, we have an extension for that, so let me show you. And Handy SwiftUI is just some small library that I have not documented yet, so the README is empty, but if you just look at the implementation, you'll find that there is we wanted to the color extension, view extension. We have these iOS only modifiers, and there is this macOS only modifier that I'm just going to try applying here. So I will say macOS only, but it will not work because I have not imported Handy SwiftUI here. So I have to import Handy SwiftUI. And to make this work properly, it says no such, okay. To make this work properly, I have to also link it here. So I need it in my reflection feature. So let's go to the reflection feature here and just make sure that Handy SwiftUI is imported. Additionally, I'm not also even sure that Handy SwiftUI is already defined as a dependency, so check that as well. But it is, so we have it available. Now it should import and it should also build. Reflection feature. macOS only, and I can just write some code in here. Not sure about that type. But I'm just getting the type of this inside of here as a parameter, and I can just change that to say like, okay, let's add a padding. That's how this extension is designed. Now, if I run the previews again, it should look nice here. And if I set the Mac as a target and run the previews again, you should have the padding now on the Mac. There you go, padding is here. This is great. So check out that library that's not really documented yet because I didn't have time to do that. But let me share the link anyways. Oh, what do we want to have a look at next? So why do we have this weird height here? I'm really not sure, and I think this is an Xcode bug, but because this really shouldn't happen. There is no code here. Like, this is just a section. There is just a text and a text field, and this is just recalling this reflection view. And we have a form. Okay, we do have the view store, and there could be some weird things going in there. But I never had this or something similar to this. And you can see this is really just looking not even this background color. So something is really weird, and I think it's an Xcode bug. So I'm just hoping that this is going to be fixed with a new version. Actually, I might want to use the Xcodes app. So if you don't know the Xcodes app, also shout out to the Xcodes app here, which is a really cool app to install Xcode versions, future Xcode versions from robots and pencils here. And yeah, you can download it here, and then you have to connect it to an Apple ID, otherwise it will not work. And I might have to sign in here. But let me just install the release candidate of 13.3 because it's a release candidate. I think we could switch to it. Oh, unable to install. Given data was not valid JSON. Let me refresh. Install. Okay, maybe this will not work that way. Maybe we can download it manually. Go to develop and Xcode. Download. No website. That's new. I didn't see that UI before. I do have to sign in now. Okay, I will download it maybe after the stream. We will not try out if this is fixing that. But this app is cool if when it works, and it usually does work for me. And it allows you to easily install apps, and by right-clicking you can also change the current active one. So this is the preview. Let's get back to it. So we have now improved the padding. So when we run the app, but I want to improve the previews. So let's continue there. This did not work. So when I set it specifically to a Mac device and I choose an iOS device, it does not work. But I am wondering if I choose an iOS device here, I just say like iPhone 13, and I have the Mac target, if it shows an iOS device. Because I would really love to have, and it does work, So I would really love to have everything here without having to switch ever. And if I change to an iPhone target, yeah, then even though I specify Mac here, it still runs into that view. So we have to stick with the Mac target. And now we can specify the device here. And I want to create an array here of like a whole bunch of previews. I want to see on both Mac and iOS in both light and dark mode. So we have to basically copy this and this too. And then we have the dark mode here. And we have the light mode here. Now we have 4 previews. And we could quickly see them. Unfortunately, I can't show them side by side. That would be really, really cool. Maybe we will have that feature. Or can I do something here? No, it just duplicates. I have just duplicated this. Also not do much here, right? Doesn't look like it. So this is what we want to do. And I want to do this with every view that I have. And I have this reflection view here, and I also have a timer view somewhere else. But I don't want to have to repeat that code. And this part here is actually independent from the view. So let's create actually a view extension that does this for us. And I will put it into utility because I want to reuse it everywhere. So let's just create a new folder because it's going to be an extension. Oops. Just click there. And it's going to be a view extension. Name it view extension or X. I like to call it just X. We need to import SwiftUI extension to view, and basically I want this to be I can go into the handy SwiftUI library and you'll find that there is a view extension somewhere here. Or there should be. I'm not sure if I shared it here already. I think I have not. But this is shared in here. Let me double check.
What is this place?
Modifiers. Oh, this is the modifier. Okay, I implemented it differently here. So I created a preview variant struct, and I called this as a view modifier. Then I define like phone sizes, pad sizes, so I can basically preview iPhone and iPad. And I'm not going to do it for this app because I'm going to focus on the Mac instead of the iPad. And then you could like, there were some things here, but then basically it had to implement the body here, so it works as a modifier. That's basically a view modifier. And in the view modifier you can like do some things, and I actually did the preview device, the display name. You can also change the display name of the device, and preferred color scheme. Also set the environment as it looks. So size category, what is that? I think that's the dynamic type size, right? Is it? Let me just check. SwiftUI size category. Deprecate is now called dynamic type size. Yeah, now it's also basically more readable. Now it's also clear what it's about. So yeah, let's actually do something like this. And then you can see I did have a view extension here. And in this view extension, I was creating a group and I was applying different modifiers on different things here. So I will write this now from scratch. So I don't want to just copy, but basically we want to move these things out into the view extension. So maybe we can copy the name. You have preview screens and preview components. So in this case, I would just call it preview variants. And this is a function. Has to be public so we can access it from elsewhere. Preview variants, and also everything that's related to previews. In my case, I always put it into if debug because I don't want to write any code that I accidentally use in my production code later. So if I make this only available in debug, and if I want to release my app, I'm going to do like an archive build. The cool thing is that if it's in a debug build, my archive will fail, and I will know that in my production code somewhere I'm calling into these APIs that are not written for production. They are just written for my tests, for my previews. Okay. the preview variants, I'm just going to keep it like this, and as you can see, it just has to report some view, so the opaque type some view. And we're going to do some things here, and we could just basically copy and paste this and try to do the same as we do here. We're creating a group and calling whatever this is, so this is going to be self. And we're going to create multiple of them. And we're going to do another break, so a quick round of fresh breath air, taking fresh air and some stretching, and I'll be back in 2 minutes or something. Okay, let's get back to this extraction. So let's see if that builds, and we have to push the utility here. Oh, we don't have the utility. Why not? Okay, we have not listed the utility as a separate library. Let's quickly fix that. Utility. There you go. Should have it here. Let's get back to our file. Let's try to build that. Build fine, yeah. Oh, so the types are fine. If this works correctly, we'll see. But we are setting 2 to Mac and 2 to iPhone 13. I want to put this up to be consistent in the order. So what else do we have here? As an idea, we could also basically create multiple size categories, so we can see like with multiple dynamic type sizes how our views will look like. And I think the most important one is when the text gets bigger. So I want to have the default one and one that is much bigger for people who are worse eyesight, who want to see that way. We might want to create another round of variants, and in this case basically we want to keep that at these all, or we just combine them. Actually, let's combine them. So let's basically say we want to have the light mode with the default size, and in here we want to have a different size. And the way this is implemented is by just going into the environment. How are we doing here? Size category. Okay, so for this we need to have a modifier. And can we do it right away in here? I guess we cannot. I don't think so. Let's try though. Environment. Size category, and it's renamed to dynamic type size. Okay, it does work. And we have to set it to some value, and it's a content size category. Content size will be deprecated. Use dynamic type size instead. Dynamic type size dot, and then we have accessibility 1, 5, large, medium, small. Let's try pretty large one. Let's do XXX large. And same here. Okay, so this is now doing a bunch of things, and I want to actually this. Let's go back to our reflection view. Instead of all this code, I should be able to now just say reflection view dot preview variants. But it's not seeing it because we're not importing utility. Import utility, and let's check if also reflection feature is importing utility. And as I've said before, this is like the not great part of the modularization approach, but it is okay. Now we have import to UI utility. Now we should be able to access preview variants, and we should no longer need all this code. See how the preview works. Let's switch to reflection feature. Previews. Did it already update? This is light, dark. No, it doesn't. Ah, it does. Okay. So on iOS we can see the text size has changed and it is much bigger now. Here it is the default size. On macOS though it doesn't change, so maybe on macOS it works differently. Let me search for that. View extension, dynamic type size. Isn't even supported on Mac. Let's just see here. iOS, macOS. Should be working. Okay, SwiftUI, environment, and says it doesn't work on macOS. Okay, we're not using custom font. macOS required. No, this tutorial yeah. No. Looking for. Okay, SwiftUI previews on macOS. Xcode 11. We're not on Xcode 11, but anyways, maybe there's some learnings here. Let's go search for environment, color scheme, okay. Class category. Okay, so there it does work. But they're using a UI view preview. What is that? Just their own type. It's a custom generic structure that we created. Community host previews of UI view subclasses. Feel free to download the source. I don't think we should need that. But I'm wondering why this doesn't work on macOS. Maybe XXX large just doesn't exist there. Let's just try large. Here. So this is the one view. Still same size. I don't see any differences. Do we even have dynamic type on macOS? Does that work? Never used that. Where's accessibility? There we go. Zoom. How do we change text sizes? Display. Menu bar size. Okay, I can change that. I'm really not sure if there is even the possibility to make to draw larger text on Mac. That's interesting. Dynamic type on macOS. I'm really not sure if this really exists on Mac. Couldn't find the setting where I would expect it. Anyways, that's something to check for later. I'm going to just write it as a warning because that's how we save time, is because this is like a detail thing and it's not the core of what we want to do. And I basically did some research, but I time box it now, so I will just expect that it doesn't work. Just write a warning to fix for later, or just check for later when we have more time. I'm not here because I was working, but here check if macOS supports dynamic type. This basically didn't work. Oh, we changed the ROM. Maybe we should try that too. Merge. Anyways, I think it will not work. Didn't check if macOS does macOS support dynamic type. Didn't work. Okay, so we can basically remove this because that variant doesn't, or maybe we just keep it for the dark mode. Yeah, we have to keep it for the dark mode anyways. Let's just keep the comment then. In that case, I will, yeah, let's try large first. Maybe large will work. Refresh preview. No, nothing changes here. Can I change something here? Dynamic type. Extra. Yeah, it has no influence on the preview. So this is really weird. but nothing we can do something about. I will still keep the extra large here. XXX large. There is actually even larger ones. If you go to accessibility 5, I think that's like the biggest size you can get there. But I think XXX is something we can work with. And we'll keep it for the dark mode mostly here. Expecting some string before. Did we do something wrong here? There should be a string level. Ah, okay, backslash dot. Backslash is being escaped here. I'll just use this style. That's the warning we have added. Now we have the preview variants here, and this is the cool thing now about extracting that code. Now we can go into the timer view. In the timer view, if I change the timer feature and we run the previews, let's stop this. You'll see now that we have only one preview for now. I want to have multiple, and you can see we have used the group here, which is also not needed anymore, and we have added the padding here. I'm not sure why. That's probably why we didn't see a problem here in the preview. Let's remove the padding from here and just use preview variants. And this should automatically show a light mode preview variant, and you can see that there is some padding missing at the top here, which also looks not that great. We have here also the dark mode on Mac, and this is the light mode on iOS and dark mode on iOS. This is great. We have extracted into this preview variants, and this is actually already worth saving and even worth writing progress. So we have actually we have done multiple things already. Maybe we should write them all down. Let me just put them all in here. What did we change? First, we removed the navigation view to fix the weird. So remove navigation view wrapper around timer view. We'll have a sample window. That's the UI improvement. We can keep that. Then we made sure that we have a padding on macOS. Added padding around the reflection view on macOS only, as forms don't have padding there. On iOS they get padding automatically, so we don't need that on iOS. Then we changed the stop icon to the pause icon. Changed stop icon, the pause button, the proper pause icon. Then we added the preview variants, so we created a new view extension with preview variants implementation. Created a new view extension with a preview variants function for more useful previews. And we just remove this file, but not worth noting, and the import style will need these changes. I think these are already some smaller improvements on the UI, so some small UI improvements and improved previews for easier view debugging. Okay, this is too long, it's saying -8 here. Some small UI improvements and improved previews for debugging. Cool. Let's push this and let's continue with more improvements. Oops, what just happened? Xcode crashed. Happens from time to time. Xcode loves to crash. And here we are back. Okay. So let's run the app. just want to see what it looks like. Let's send the report to Apple. Is already a new app? No. Starting. So one problem we came across was that dynamic type here. Dynamic type seems not to be supported, or maybe it's a learning, on macOS. This didn't work. Code. Okay. Maybe it's actually learning. Anyways. It's an issue, I think, because it should work. I expect it to work, actually. And let's have a look at the app now. There we are, so we do have some padding now. It looks a little bit better. And we don't have this weird sidebar thing anymore. What next? Okay, so I don't like these texts to be showing here outside. I thought this is like going to be some placeholder inside of these text fields. So let's try to improve that to make it look a little bit better. And the question is, can we control this in the text field, or do we need to write our custom UI? For that, I'm going to go to reflection view, the reflection feature, previews. So we are calling these section creators, then we're creating a section, we're creating a text with title, and this is what it looks like here, and we'll see in iOS shortly. Here we can see already, and the question is, does text field have some things how we can adjust the placement of the placeholder? So let's search for placeholder, nothing there. Nothing with text field. Yeah, we have a style. Plain rounded border. Okay, maybe we can play around with these. It's not working. Square border is not available on iOS. In this case, we're getting good previews. That's a good error message. That's useful. But this would be a macOS only example again. Hey, how does it work? Only get some modifier. Can we use text field right away? We can't, but maybe like this. Let's do it like this then. Should work. No, it doesn't. Still doing the same thing. Available on iOS only. Okay, so this is not about the padding. Like in the padding case, we were using different. We were using modifiers that are available on both platforms, but only on macOS applying it. In this case, because this API isn't available, we need to do it differently. And I don't want to do that actually, so I actually want to just use something that's available on all platforms. Let's see if there is something. Let's just try rounded border. Does that work? Yeah, it does have now a rounded border. You can't really see it well. Let's go. This is basically what it looks like now. I actually prefer this, so this style looks a little bit better, but not on iOS. Yeah, on iOS it doesn't look that great. I would just do that on Mac. And on iOS you can see that the placeholder is showing as a background, but on macOS it's outside. I don't like that. Maybe inside is not the best, but at least I want to have it above. And we might have to create it do it differently, so maybe I can influence. Let's see. Let's check first SwiftUI text field. Let's read the documentation to see if there's any settings we can do. So they have focused on submit, text input, auto capitalization, order, format style, the prompt. Okay. The following example shows a form with 2 text fields, each of which provides a prompt to indicate that the field is required, and a view builder to provide a label. Text field, they are passing the binding, a prompt, and a text. Let me see what this looks like. This is going to be any different. So they are passing the placeholder, and they are doing the text here, and they are basically passing the view here instead of just the placeholder text. Plus, they are passing a prompt. In our case, we just use the text binding. See what this looks like. So in this case, this looks okay. We have the username here. We used our placeholder instead. I think it will look the same basically. Oh. Another issue. I actually want to write this down. We came across that. And we came across this before. This Xcode 13.2.1 at least is adding some weird it's basically a vertical padding, large one in previews. I don't know why it does that, but we can see this is now the placeholder style, and this is more like what I was expecting. So we can basically use a prompt. What will the prompt look like on iOS though? On iOS, it looks the same. So it does look the way I expect. So maybe we're just using it the wrong way. So instead of using this here, I will go to the prompt style and just use the placeholder here. But I think it expects the view, so like this. Yeah, this looks. Oh, this doesn't work. Okay, this is not a valid API. It's missing. Okay, let me explore a text field in initializers. So they are using the text prompt label. Okay, I have to provide a label in that case. Or do I? Text prompt. Text prompt. I think so. Text prompt label. And let's just use a label and just oops. I'll just say empty view. What does this look like? This works in iOS, but it says syntax error. We have 1, 2, yeah. This is too many. Now, okay, we don't want to show the rounded border on iOS, so this is macOS only. I will try text input, it doesn't work. We are getting a text field here, so actually this should work. Text field style. Anyways, let's make this more clear without a keep off, so macOS only, and I'm appending text field style on macOS. So again, as a reminder, this is a extension in this handy SwiftUI library. If you want to check that out, you can find it on GitHub. Now, this is looking a little better, and on iOS it's also looking better. So this is something that is already improved to what we had before. And I'll actually keep it like this. Cool. I like that. Let's run the app. With these changes. And it doesn't build. Or just rebuild. I think this is a caching issue. Okay, this looks much better. We still can't write like a list here, really. Or can we? Okay. No. If I click enter, it basically leaves this, and I actually want this to be like a multiple lines kind of entry. In a future version, we want to have a view that basically accepts multiple single entries. But for now, we just have one text. And I think this is better than nothing, so maybe this is something we can start with. Just one line. But maybe we should make it so we can grow in size. Let me see what the iOS app looks like. Oh no, not on my Mac. Oh, we're getting into break, so I'll be back in 3 minutes to getting some fresh air and stretching it. If you're watching and working too, you can do that as well. Okay, back here and let's continue. The last thing we did was running the iOS application, and this is what it looks like on iOS. We still have this issue with the width in a simulator, and I think I ran the software on this simulator already before, and I see it's also iOS 15.2. Thought that 15.3 is already out. Anyways, I'm just going to run it on a different one. Let's just use 12. Maybe it's a caching issue. Close iPhone 13 preview simulator. Let's start the 12th one. Let's see if we have the same issue here too, because the preview here, as you can see, this does work and this does look fine. And this is the reflection view, but maybe it's the issue lies in the timer view. Oops. Timer view. Switch to timer feature preview. So here it looks good on macOS, and it does also look better at least on iOS as well. But on the simulator it looks weird. Let me actually run this on a real device, just to see which one is right. And this might actually not work because I don't have signing certificates. Can I work around this without setting up an iOS an Apple account? Okay, I might have to set this up, but I like to do this off stream. Yeah, I think it makes sense to set this up. Okay. Anyways, we'll try and continue with the simulator. And on the simulator, it doesn't work as expected. I'm going to trust the preview here more, because again, it really looks weird to have this full this width going outside of this view here. Basically, it should not happen, so I believe it's a bug again, and this should be the right way. So I will work with the preview here. We can see that some of the text here is being clipped. We could improve that, especially if you're using dynamic type, even more gets clipped. And maybe we should also use different size phones here. Let's go back to our view extension, because iPhone 13, maybe we should get a big one. This is like the worst case scenario, right, with the small text. And let's also use a small iPhone here. So what small iPhone do we have? iPhone SE, I guess. How does it what is its name in SwiftUI previews? You get this clear. Let's just think we were on. Let's just run the previews like this, and let's go here and set the device iPhone SE or iPhone mini. I think SE is the smallest, right? Yeah, it's just calling. Give variants and set up this device to have a small device with large text to have the worst case scenario, and this is the either the best case scenario or like the default scenario. So we could either go for iPhone 13 Pro Max to get like the biggest device, see also how it looks like on a large device, or we could stick with the default one and our large one will have even more space. This is the way I prefer to keep it, at least for now. And on Mac we don't have much to choose there. So now we should see here the large one, and this is going to be even smaller if it works, but it seems not to work. Why? Anyhow, let's generate the report like we learned in the previous streams, because we're not getting proper errors here. They are instead in the crash reports. This is taking a while. And in the podcast, actually, both Nico and Holger from the German podcast App Store Tagebuch, they were asking me like, do I really need so many processors that are making everything faster on my Mac? And this is the answer: yes. It was now building, I was waiting, and this was just a waste of time. And I'm not seeing any crash logs here. What happened? Let me try again. And this is like taking some time, and the faster your processor is, the happier you're gonna be as a developer, obviously, because you have to wait less. And I could like, if especially because you have these cycles where you try something, this trial error style, you try something, you want to see if it works, and you want to try something else, you want to see if it works, and the faster your processor is, the faster you're going to be able to do this and fix some bugs or things like that. And still no crash logs. Okay, this is not an issue that I know of. Maybe we should just retry. Let me actually just build the reflection feature. Maybe this will work. Previous working. Oh, the build doesn't even work. What's going on? Not building? Let me stop everything. Be clean. And let me build again. Okay, now let's try the SwiftUI previews. This looks very much like the my Mac when I specified my Mac, so I believe that it somehow just couldn't find the device that I have specified here. I don't know why. Well, let me just try iPhone 8, which has basically the same size. Maybe this will work. Previews. Okay, this even doesn't work. The bottom one. Oh no, the iPhone 13 now doesn't work. Do both have to be on the same device? But this one works now. This is really weird. Maybe we just have to try again. Yeah, now it works. So weird. So weird. Anyways, I think this is now an iPhone 8 screen size, and I actually wanna provide a name for that, and we have that in the SwiftUI and the handy SwiftUI extension. We provided actually a separate display name, and that's how we do it. You can provide a display name. Let's just go for it. Do the same here as well. So the display name here, I think, is basically Mac and light mode. this one here. New display name. This is also the Mac. Dark mode. Comma XXX large. Now we have preview display name. This is iPhone 13 light mode. That's light mode or small. And last but not least, and the size is default size, right? Yeah, what's the default size when written explicitly? Environment, dynamic type size, dynamic type size dots. The default? No. Regular? I guess it's medium. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I guess it's medium. So we could make it explicit. Then it's absolutely clear. Environment, display, dynamic type size, I mean. And then we have dynamic type dot medium. Make that here too. Medium. In this case, we have iPhone 8. Now let's keep with iPhone 8. And here we have XXX large. Let's go back to the view and see what this looks like now. Pushing the preview. I'm not seeing a name here. Where's the name? I might need to go to timer view. Refresh and it doesn't show the name. I expect to see the name here somewhere up there. Ah, there we go. Mac light mode, medium, Mac dark mode, XXX large. iPhone 13 is still building, but it's light mode medium, and this is light mode. This shouldn't be light mode. I forgot that. It should be dark mode. There we go. I like that. Now our preview variants are getting even better. Cool. So we wanted to fix this trailing dots, and also I want to make it like that I can write multiple lines into a text field. And that's the next thing I'm going to have a look at after committing the changes that we've made. So we have improved basically the text fields rendering of the placeholder, and we have improved, basically we have added the preview display name, and iPhone 8 also, yeah, we have improved basically also the preview styles that we have. So basically, but I think this basically is an improvement to the text field, and the multiple lining is also an improvement on the text field. Maybe we should combine them into one commit. So I'm going to just stage them so I can see the diff from what I had as code here that was working, and what I'm going to do as changes next, because in case I get into troubles with things not building anymore, I can just revert what I've changed here, and this part is already basically completed. That's like a soft step of making a commit, as long as you trust your computer not to die between those changes, and that typically doesn't happen, so I'm going to risk it. And even if it dies, like as in crashing, the data will not be gone. Only if my disk completely dies, data is gone. But that's something we can risk. Okay. So how can we make a, we have a text field, right? That's the type. Let's go back to the selection view. I'm always mixing up these shortcuts. Works. And yeah, it's just a text field. Maybe we can just do something on it directly. Multi-line, there we go, multi-line text alignment. but this doesn't make it multimodal. Let's see about text field and multimodal. Native SwiftUI, so they are saying we should use text editor. This is not what we want. This is an entirely different view, and maybe it's something we should do long term. But I want to have a list of entries later on, so I'm not sure if we should do that. See what else we have. We could ramp UI text view. Okay. So basically, they're saying it's not possible, right? Text view. We could use text view. Text editor instead. Maybe that is the right way to go. But we want to have like multiple entries. We want to be able to split them later. So maybe we shouldn't go for text editor. And instead, we should just show multiple text fields. But in the meantime, we could show a text. Let's see how different the APIs are. So I'm going to actually make the commit because we're going to make a larger change where we change the text field type to text editor, and that's definitely worth its own commit. So we can always revert to commit. Okay, let's commit this as improves placeholder placement, or basically improves the text field UI. Text field UI looks on macOS, because we only made changes actually on macOS where we changed the prompt. This was already working on iOS as it is, and we have also only applied the rounded border on macOS. Improves text fields UI looks on macOS, and yeah, improve view variants. Let's keep it simple. And now we're going to replace our text field here with the text editor. What happens. And let's first see what bindings we have here. So I can see text. We can just pass the text binding. I don't see a prompt, so we might have to implement this on our own. Let's comment this out. Let's just add a text at the top and just show the placeholder like this. And yeah, let's just see what this looks like. Let's do the preview. Okay, so we have now a larger text field in here, and we have some text here. And on iOS, okay, it failed on iOS. Does it even have a text editor? Yes, it does. Okay, now it works. So it is creating like different entries. We don't want to have this separator here. But we might want to just turn off separators in this section. Can I somehow do that? Separator or divider. Open the section. Maybe we have to do it on the form level. Separator. SwiftUI section. Turn off separators. Okay, from a list we can remove it, I think, easily with list row separator. Welcome to the stream, Gorham Baba. How are you doing? Wie geht's? Here we can actually just call this, because maybe internally it uses a list or something like that, and maybe we'll just go down into children and then maybe it will work, but it doesn't accept. Ah, it's not available on macOS. And we can't use iOS only here. Okay, one possible solution for this is that I've learned from John Sandell. I think he was mentioning this, is we could create an extension that only is available in one of the platforms. Gut dich anhören und dir geht's auch gut. Ja, mir geht's gut. Yeah, I'm fine. You're just listening to me. Great. So I will try that. I will just say if OS is Mac OS. Oh no, we're just doing it on iOS. If OS is iOS. Yeah. Else. And if. I'll just keep the extension here. I'll just say extension. In this case, it's section actually. And we're going to say flag height separator. And we need that on both. But in this case, we just do nothing because we don't have to do anything. But here we're just saying self.list row separator, but it doesn't work even like this. Hidden will not compile. Call height separator here. Cannot conform to view. Okay, let's just make a new separator extension. What's going on? A section, not a view. It's not a view. Really? Oh, it is a view. Or parent is a view and constant is a view. Let's try it on the form level. I got it. We're not returning the view. Obviously, now it should work. Front view. Oh yeah, we have to return self here. No, it's building. Let's see about the previews. Sorry for that. Let's try again. Okay, this is building, and we still see the separators, so that didn't help anyway, so we can just remove the go button. You see, like, you can always extend, and this way you can basically provide some implementation on one platform but not on the other without having to do these things up there, which might also not work with a simple extension. But we do have the text editor here now, and apart from this line here, which we could fix actually. I think there is an easier fix for that. We could just fix it by putting these into a restack. I think this should fix it on iOS. Clean the previews again. And let's remove this. I might want to turn on the canvas. Okay, automatically refreshing is refresh this with previews again. Okay, this is now kind of looking better. As for there is no separator shown, but now the text editor has some issues. Do we have the same on macOS? No, we don't. So it has a minimum height. Let's add that here. Make it minimum. How many APIs there? Main height. Let's say like 44. This looks better. But now we also want to. Oh, why does it have different heights here? Weird. But this is looking good. Ah, it's because dynamic type, I guess. Anyways, I want to. And this is having some padding now. Oh, it's because this is. I see. The text here is being centered. So we have a VStack, and we want the alignment here to be leading. There we go. It's a bit better. Also, this is, should be something like a placeholder, so I actually want to change the color, foreground color, to just be color dot. And then the question is, which one do we use here? We have primary, we have secondary, and that's what we could use. Primary is like the main content, and secondary is like a secondary level of content. And this is like a yeah, generic kind of semantic coloring. But I want to see that I can actually type here, and that's currently not possible. And for text editor, we might actually have something like a placeholder. Placeholder. Let me see the text editor documentation. Text editor Apple documentation. But first we're going into break, and right after the break we will continue. Sorry for being late, let's continue. So we're searching for text editor Apple documentation. To see if we can specify some placeholder. We can see multi-line text alignment, okay. Text. No placeholder. Okay, we don't have the placeholder here, so we might want to keep that. But I want to show like a frame around it. Does it support that? How did it work for the text field? I think we had some kind of style. Field style on the text editor. Does that work? Does that work? I'm really interested. Rounded board. Nothing changes on my shape style, rounded rectangle with that. Compile. Parse shape style. What shape styles can we use? Shape. Line. Dot. Line. Okay, what do we get here? Shape style. Oops. We have tinted selections. Ah, okay, I see. Let's try this out. Like. Oh, I see. Okay, it works on Mac. Ah, okay, here too. Corner radius. That work? Combination. Afterwards. Something's happening, but I think it's not as expected. Yeah, it's not supplied to. You can see it's going into the scroll bar. Yeah, not a good idea to do that. But maybe we can just use a shape style and just let's see shape style. Maybe separate the shape style. I like it on the Mac, iOS, but it is not available. Let's switch to iOS. Let's try this out. Oh, these are all shape styles? Background? Is it? Something does happen. What about border? Background, secondary. Try secondary here. Oh, I see. This is just like the color, more or less. Okay, so I can specify, I think, quaternary. At least if we do 2 width, we do 1, maybe we can go for a secondary, maybe? Doesn't look great. At least we can see like where we can put some text. Although it doesn't look like a text field. We have to improve the UI here. How can we do that? I really don't like what it looks like here, and I think the placeholder here I will have to put together with the title. Because they're getting grouped, and I think this will look better. Let's make it alignment leading, no longer needed. Foreground color. See? Not great, but at least if I change that to, I don't know. I mean, we're not doing UI design here. On the Mac, it looks okay. I think we can work with that. Maybe the text has to become even less visual. Yeah, maybe it's not a good idea. Secondary is fine. Let's turn the width to 1. Maybe even just half. No longer visible. Yeah, I think it's let's focus on the usability here, and I think this kind of works. It's just not very clear that you can type here. Maybe we just use it on the Mac. On iOS we just use a separator to make clear that's the part you enter text. I think I like that. So we're only going to do this on macOS. This is better. And here we're getting the extra highlighting. We didn't have that. Yeah, this looks weird. I like that there is some border there. On macOS actually I think width of 2 even looked good. But I think I prefer 1 here too. Yeah, maybe tertiary. Yeah, tertiary. Okay, so we have some improvements on the Mac UI, and I also want to make these things more clearly glued together. because the spacing here is really not that much. So we have a section, and can we provide some spacing here? No. Okay. No, but yeah, we want to have spacing between the sections, so maybe it's on the floor. And also not the case. Let's speed up the form documentation tool. SwiftUI form output optimization. Nothing we can do with spacing, so we have to add our spacing, ourselves. We could just use padding very simply, just saying like padding. What does that look like? Nope, that's not a good idea. It's adding padding around everything. A single view. We have this VStack, the text editor. Let's also remove this. And let's use just text editor. Doesn't look that bad. Maybe we can just add like spacer here, which adds some spacing. Or does it? No real changes. Could add like empty view. What's better, spacer or empty view? If you want to specify a specific height. I'm going to just say frame height 10. Let's make it extreme, see like really the effect. And nothing's happening here. Oh, spacer. Okay, this does work. I see that the view's size does not get automatically changed. Maybe because we're using a spacer and not a proper view. Let's. What if I drew a rectangle? Still not adjusting, so maybe that's not the issue. You could also just draw a divider on the Mac. That look like? No. At least in my opinion. Or not much better. Maybe if we add that on top of it. Oops. This. Make it smaller. I don't like the divider, to be honest. I'd rather do it with just some spacing, so it just looks grouped together more. But now I want to know why this isn't adjusting its size. Pretty weird. And here, can we scroll? Yeah, we can scroll. So it automatically turns into a scroll view if we have a section. Basically, it's creating a table view. But with the spacer now added, we do have another divider in here. And I don't want that on iOS, so I'm just going to say FOS, macOS. And does that fix it? Yes, it does. Simple as that. Of the live preview, so we can see the yeah. I'm not sure why these are not adjusting in size. We have to do something here, like fit scale to fit, fixed size. Let's try scale to fit. Scale to fill. What happens with these? Oh, something's going on here. That's very interesting. Very interesting. But not what we want. Let me run, yeah. Let's see what happens if we run now the Mac app. Maybe it's again just a preview issue. And again. Weird bugs. I think Xcode has a lot of SwiftPM related bugs going on. Oh, this is looking more like an app. I like it, and it adjusts its size, so I think this is fine. Or like the very first iteration. I even have the impression that maybe this text is too small. You want to make it larger. It's already headline. What does it might look like? Is it larger? Larger, maybe too large. Oh, title 2. Could work and free. And we had headline before, right? That's even smaller. So I think title 3 could work. Or 2. No, let's try. Let's go with 2. Now the distance actually appears to be too large for me, because now the title is bigger, and this we could go. That works. Oh, maybe 20, maybe 10. That cool. So let's stay with 50. I feel like this is good. And again, I'm not sure why this is not scaling properly. Let's go for that. Search SwiftUI preview. No resizing. Mac. Not exactly what we're looking for. Okay, anyways, this is good enough as long as it works in the app properly. And it's much better than this whole scroll view thing. Oh yeah, that scroll view thing. Did it disappear with a spacer now? When did it disappear? I didn't even recognize that. What happens if I remove this? Now we have proper sizes. We have actually proper sizes. Only this spacer breaks it. Since when do we have that? Since we started using text editor? No, it was working before as well. Maybe we're just missing a v-stack or something. Very interesting. Anyways, the bug that we had before, this was huge. It is fixed now, but I don't like the spacer. I really like we use the rectangle, or let's just use like a text even. Doesn't really matter. Same thing. Would it have the same? No, it still has the wrong size, so it's not the type spacer issue here. Maybe the issue is the if directive. Put it on all platforms and you. No, it's not that. Okay, and we can keep it. Cool. Let's see what we have changed. Not that much, but we have improved the looks of it. So we are using text editor now, and I'm using the another text for the placeholder, and we are using a spacer for the Mac to make it nice and have some space in between. Is it usable on iOS? Can we actually edit text? Let me check if this actually works, like functionally. So Mac app, let's run it. Even becomes the first responder right away. So testing, entering some data should cause actions that are sending the text and creating the data. And let's look into the database. Here, I'll actually copy the file. So let's open that file. And in our database, we go to browse data, into focus timer, rich text entry. Now we just sort the other way. We'll see that the last entry is testing, entering some data, and when we do some other entries as well, problem 1, ABC, and update this, we have the text here, problem 1, ABC. Oh, this is working, and we can commit. Replace, single line, text edit. I think it was called text edit, right? Text field. Text field with multi-line text editor. Oh, we are making a lot of smaller UI improvements in this stream, and I want to continue with that. So we have these fields here now, and this is not the final UI even. Obviously we will be writing a proper design later, but for now I want to make a first version that just works and doesn't look as ugly as what it was before, which was, I think, in a state that is just unusable. So the thing that I'm missing here is that this is, I think, supposed to be more central, and this doesn't have any padding and things like that, so improve this a little bit as well. And maybe we can add some nice icon or something, or a clock or some animation at the top, so we can see like the time moving. Not sure if we can complete that during the stream, but we will try to make some improvements. So start button. I mean, this is start. If I pause and then I want to start again, I think this should be phrased continue. Let's improve that first. So we have somewhere the text start. And it's even localized using body crouch. So we can just look for timer.action.start. This is where it gets used, and we are always showing start whenever the timer is not running. So in the else state, when it's not running, we're always showing start. But actually we just want to start if there is a timer with no tracked time yet. So what we want to actually do is else if viewStore dot when it's not running, and if viewStore dot focus timer, what's the type here? We're in the timer feature. Let's go to the timer value and jump into timer store. We have the current focus timer, that's what it's called, and we have time left. Let's go to current focus timer. Current focus is built. You know, it does have access. And in the current focus timer, we want to access the past time, basically. The running duration, basically. And if the running duration basically equals 0, Let's make it more resilient, so smaller than or equal to 0, less than or equal, then we will show this. Otherwise, or actually let's make this larger than 0. So when we did have some time running on that timer already, we don't want to show the start, but we want to call it differently. I'm just going to omit body crouch, so translate is going to be timer.action.continue. Translation, I think for German we can say fortsetzen. Oop, let's pause this for a second. I want to just complete this. Fortsetzen for English, I'm calling it continue, and no comment needed. I think play icon is fine, and start button pressed. I guess we could rename that to start or continue. Button pressed, and run body crouch on the command line, and SwiftGen as well. Body crouch, update, SwiftGen. This should have replaced the body crouch call here with L10N timer action continue, which looks good, but this is still saying expected condition type boolean, but it is boolean. Building. Now let's run the app. Start, pause. Okay, this should have changed to continue, but it hasn't. Okay, it only works when at least 1 second has passed, which I think is fine. I think it's fine. Technically, it's not correct, but we're not storing anything less than 1 second at the moment, so I think that's fine. And this is the state that we're going to do a quick break right after staging these changes. I think we can also commit this. This is enough changes. So let's just say rename start button to label. Nunchi, welcome to the stream. Hello, how are you doing? How are things going? How was your day? Or is your day? Label start button to state continue when the timer is in progress, or for in progress timers. In progress timers. I'm doing great, just having my morning coffee, haha. Morning coffee means you're probably on the west coast of America, so somewhere Brazil, US or something. Just guessing though. Hey Nunchi, Megan is also here, and that's great to hear. So I will go into a quick break, and before that I will first do the Swift format changes that happened due to our pre-commit hook that we have prepared, and push that. That's correct. Cool. Yes, right there. Okay, I'll be back in how many? 3 minutes. Are you there?
Very much alike.
Okay, we're back, and we're just adding this view here, this variant, having the continue button, and we have committed that. So this is now a continue, which I like more than the stop. One thing we could improve here is the button's width is basically changing whenever it changes the label. How do you find Vapor? Okay, Vapor, you're talking about Vapor codes, basically. The Swift server-side Swift framework, basically. And I have used Vapor for 2 demo applications and 1 true app that I actually developed that quite far, actually, like a version 0.8. But then I didn't like the concept. It was like a to-do app. It was called What Next, and I didn't like the concept because it wasn't working for me. And then I decided, okay, I will ditch it for now. Maybe I will work on it later. I mean, I am now a indie developer, so I might be working on that as one of my future projects and just changing the concept, because for to-do apps, the content is really key, and you don't want to compete with any other apps that are out there. There are enough to-do apps out there, and you can't compete if you don't have a new concept that really is improving something that was missing before. And I thought I had that, but then trying out the app myself, I learned that it improves on some parts, but it gets worse on other parts, and that's not what I want. But there I actually implemented a quite complicated backend for my iOS frontend application. And I have to say that I basically love writing backend software with Swift, and I like Vapor and its structure. I don't love Vapor because I have been developing with Ruby on Rails, if you know that. And Ruby on Rails is basically something like Vapor, but for Ruby, and it is much older and much more improved over time, and it's really very mature. Has many features, and the features and the main releases like Rails 7, for example, the features they add now are like, okay, let's make this even better, let's make that even better, let's implement this new WebSockets feature and make it easier to integrate, things like that. So the basics are already there, and there's much more help on Rails and much more structure, and I'm kind of missing that on Vapor a little bit. So there are some stories on Vapor that are missing. For example, also the whole localization. How do you localize your error messages in Vapor when you send them via the API? Those things are missing, but the basics I really like. I think the basics are fine. The biggest problem is that Vapor is based on SwiftUI, and SwiftUI is an Apple framework. This is not the problem per se, but the problem I have here is this was all implemented before async await was available. Do most servers support Vapor? Vapor is just an application that needs Swift to be available to be run. So I think any server that can have Swift installed on it can also run a Vapor application. So basically, yes, every server, because as far as I know, it runs on Ubuntu. I think it also kind of works on other Linux distributions, but Ubuntu is definitely the one that is also officially supported. And you can find like Swift supported platforms. You can find a full list of Swift supported platforms on swift.org. Listed with official support, like macOS, Ubuntu, CentOS is also supported, Amazon Linux is supported, and Windows is now also supported. So on all these platforms, Vapor should work. Windows, I wouldn't be too sure because it's kind of a different system, but these are all Linux. I'm quite sure it works really great there, and it is well tested. Windows is quite new, so I think there's going to be problems. But I really like Vapor other than that, and if you want to basically develop a backend application in Swift, I think Vapor is currently the way to go. But as I said, the part that I'm not loving yet is the SwiftUI part, because there's these, let me show you a little bit. There is this event loop, basically is very at the core of this whole thing. And you're working similar to Combine, but this is not using Combine. Also Combine didn't exist when this was all created. Similar to that, and similar to basically what async await is supposed to do, they have all these types, future types, promises and things like that. And I like the whole concept, but I would prefer async await over that. And I think they're currently working on basically creating a new version of SwiftUI. This is version 2.30.38. I'm sure they're working on an async await compatible one, and then Vapor will also make a release. So I think the main maintainer of Vapor, I don't remember the name, but I listened to a Swift by Sandel podcast, and in an interview, he basically said that the next major version of Vapor will come out with Swift 6. And I think in Swift 6, the async await story will be finished, or like very far mature. And then I'm going to probably really love Vapor with all those things. Improved the Nio part. The other thing I would really love on Vapor is, does this mean I can use some of the Swift libraries available for the front end with Vapor? Swift libraries for the front end with Vapor. Okay, so you mean the front end, web front end, like a website. Vapor, basically everything that doesn't expect any frameworks from Apple, but just uses Swift features. Everything, every library that is based on Swift only will work in Vapor as well. So just to give an example, so if I go to GitHub, for example, and we're just going for Alamo Fire because it's very, very well known. Alamo Fire, you can just check if Alamo Fire is importing anything that requires anything else than what's available in Swift, and you can easily find out if they list as platforms Linux. You already know, okay, they are not expecting Apple frameworks only, but they also work on Linux and even on Windows. So this framework, for example, you can use that just on Vapor. Everything, and most of the libraries support that. Some libraries are like improvements for SwiftUI, obviously that doesn't work, but everything else you can just import into Vapor. But the thing I want to say is the localization I'm missing on Vapor, then the what I just said is the Swift Nio part, which I think is going to be a much better story in the future. And the last thing I want to mention is if you go to the docs, and the way you write HTML, I didn't need this because I just wrote a backend application, but if you write a front-end application, they have this Leaf library, which is basically also, you can find it on GitHub. I just search for Leaf. And let's search for Vapor as well. I think it's on Vapor. So this is basically from Vapor a custom DSL implemented just for use and creation of HTML. So an expressive, performant, and extensible templating language built for Swift. And it kind of looks like this. Let me show you here. So you create a hello Leaf file, and it looks, for example, like this. And then this generates the HTML. And what I would really love and prefer is if there was basically a framework like SwiftUI for HTML. And there is actually things going on in the community there. So if you just search for result builder HTML, you'll find Swift HTML, for example, and there are more like this, which basically tries to provide like HTML structure, but the way SwiftUI is designed. And I would really love to see basically the Leaf templating language to be replaced by something like this, which is using SwiftUI. Oops, I closed that. And the closest thing that comes there is actually implemented in Tokamak, which basically tries to use the same names like we have in SwiftUI and converts that to HTML, for example. And you can find, you can basically see like there's a VStack, like in SwiftUI, there's a button, there's text, and this all gets rendered into HTML. And not only HTML, it also gets rendered to, I don't know, WebAssembly, or I don't know how exactly that works, but basically this is, I think, the most improved thing. So if you're interested in that, let me share the link with you in the chat. This is definitely something interesting to check out. It's Tokamak. You can see 1,600 stars. I'm not sure if this can be used like in production that well, because I haven't tried it out, but the goal is actually to provide something like SwiftUI but for the web, and even for Android, and even for others. So yeah, read about it, it's really cool. Goodbye to CSS. Yeah, so that's I hope enough answer to what I think about Vapor. But I like Vapor because it is easy to use, it is well documented, and it has the basics, so it is really great. And I think it's the best backend programming language, backend framework for writing backends in Swift. For some specific purposes, like for example, if you want to have a website, it's probably better you use Publish. I mean a blog. It's probably better to use Publish because it's more accustomed to that specific use case. And this is a library by John Sundell. And if you just go to Swift by Sundell, by the way, if I accidentally say Swift Sundell to him, sorry, because he always is a Swift by Sundell. I always mix up. Sometimes I think his first name is Swift. Anyways, so this is basically John Sandell's blog, and this whole blog here is created by his tool Publish, and it's open source too. And if you just want to have a blog, this is probably the better tool to use for that. So you don't need Vapor for everything, but if you just want to have a general website or a backend for your iOS application, Vapor is definitely, I think, right now the best choice to use. That's that. Let's get back to the application. So that was a quick summary of what I think about Vapor. So when you build your to-do app, were you using Swift for your mobile app and Vapor for the server? Yes, exactly, that was the case. And all my model code were just codables, and I could just encode them and decode them without any other thing. I basically had it in a library, and I could just import the library in my application and on my server side, on my Vapor application. So that was really cool there. And that's the strength of it. And if you're interested like on server communication topics, also check out the topic distributed actors. It's something for the future. It's not implemented yet into Swift, but it's being discussed in the Swift Evolution forum. So distributed actors, it's really something very interesting that's coming in the future of Swift. It basically simplifies the communication between multiple computers, and you don't even need APIs for that and then anymore. You just have these distributed actor types. That's really cool. I have actually looked that up. Cool. So yeah, that's a cool topic. I'm looking forward to any changes there. Okay, so what were we doing before we get to the topic of Vapor? I think it was something with this button. Yeah, I was talking about this button and its width. You can see the width is changing, and this is fine. It's not that bad, but I just want to have it have all the buttons always the same width if I can. And the question is, how can we get that going? We could just okay, this is actually probably not that easy to implement because we don't show the other ones when I mean, if we had like multiple views, we could give them easily the same width by using, for example, a what's it called, the geometry reader, for example. I think there's also some other ways through the environment or something like that. But for this case, changing the width, I think, to a static value, just a fixed value, is the easiest fix. But we have to make sure that this fixed value works for all the texts we have. And we could use the full width. That's like the easiest way. I don't want to do that though. Also, I want to see what this button looks like on iOS. The preview again. What does it look like here? Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to keep it as is. I don't have the easiest solution in my mind to make it work the way I want it to work, so have the same width without setting a fixed width that then could break dynamic type. My side project I'm working on right now is a peer-to-peer distributed mobile app. That sounds like you should be really looking forward to distributed actors. Actually, a distributed actor isolation proposal was just accepted, so if you're going to Swift Evolution, just look for the recently accepted ones, you'll find distributed actor isolation. So there is already something accepted and also implemented here in this toolchain, and you could try that out. So I don't know if that is of any help. I think it does not help because it's missing at least the distributed actor runtime. I think without the runtime this doesn't really work, but this also is implemented and I think you can try it out. So feel free to play around with it if you have the time for it. Okay, but what else do we want to do? We have 10 minutes left, and this is actually my last session. Maybe we'll continue 5 minutes after that. But let's see what we can do in just a couple of minutes. So let's do with the spacing here at the top. I don't like that yet. And this is the seconds. Also, this pop-up maybe isn't the best. We could implement a manual one. But I guess this is better than nothing. And we want to show some kind of progress. So I will make it simple. And say, let's just show a progress without like a completion. Just a indicator, like an activity indicator. Let's just implement that. And also let's add some spacing here at the top. So let's go to the timer view. And this is already getting large, so we might have to get things out of here. Split it up. For example, we could split up the alert. But let's do that later. Let's focus on the view. So here, I just want to have some spacing at the top. Let's just add a spacer. What does this look like? Why is this not working? Yeah, we are on the macOS target. Let's switch to the timer feature. Let's try building that preview again. Now it seems to be working. Yet. This is, I think, a flickering issue, so let me just rebuild. Okay, this is, I think, working now. And there is some spacing in here. Here we can't see really the preview. Maybe we have to set a size explicitly. Frame. There you go. I think there is now some spacing in here. And if I remove it again, will it stay 800? Is this like an initial implicit size on the Mac? Maybe that's why it has this size specific. So we could do something like macOS only. And here we could say set the frame to have the height, in this case 800, which is I think kind of something that we can work with. Okay, so if I remove the spacer, what will it look like? Yeah, I think that helps. Cool, that's a small issue there, and let's just add an activity indicator now. So I want to have basically a progress view, but only if the view store current focus timer is running. Do we have like a running state? Yeah, we do. If it's running at the moment, I want to show that indicator. Okay, so we might want to have multiple store variants here too. One with running, one not. Well, let's actually run the app here. Always rebuild after changing the target or the scheme. Don't know why. Okay, so it is showing, but it is like first it's very large, and I don't want to have this style. I want to actually have the circular style. Let's change the style and progress view style. Progress view style. We have the circular progress view. Doesn't it work like circular? Yes. Should work, right? Yeah. Nothing changed. GOG. Is GOG better here? Not really. Try with this one. Isn't there a circular progression style? No, we want to have the linear. No, but not really. I don't know. Let's try linear. Okay. It's better than the circular because what else do we have? Do we have any nice one? SwiftUI, progress view. See what styles we have there. Yeah, something like that. How can I implement it? Dark blue shadow progress view style. Make body shadow. Okay. Maybe the circular one will look different if we have a progress value. Maybe that's how it works. So let me try circular again. And let's just assign what init methods do we have? Value and total. Let's go with 10 of 20. Just to see what happens. Get like a different style. Yes, okay, we do get a different style. In that case, we are going to use these, and we do have the view store. Okay, this view store dot current focus timer. Actually, we could implement something that makes this easier, so we calculate it in the store. I don't want to calculate much on the view. I just want to like call something, and I think we could just get things here. So we don't have to calculate anything. We can just read. Current focus timer, total. Isn't there a total? Time left, time run out duration. I think this is the total, right? Okay, it's not documented. I think so. We are seeing we should probably document these values. Document these properties. But I think this is the right thing. We'll see. Current focus timer. Use store dot current focus timer. Dot running duration, but the other way around, of course. This is the total. And that's the actual value right now. Let's see if that works. Good. Alright. Yeah, it does work as expected. It's not looking nice, so we might want to add animation on to it. So we might want to say, well, first let's clean this up. More readable. Okay. Now we might want to say that whenever we receive a new value, that this action is going to be animated. And I think this is happening in the reducer. Just have a look at what states. Okay, let me see what actions we have. So the possible actions are here. Timer ticked. This sounds like the right one. Timer ticked is happening here. And we say state.tick. And we save. Then if it's completed, we do something. Otherwise, we don't do anything special. But we are ticking here, so the timer tick, wherever this is being sent, we want to make it animated. So we have an effect here, we're mapping it to something, and I think we can somehow say animated here. Okay, this is basically time's over, but I'm going to finish this up and then we're going to close up the stream also. But I think there is some way to animate this. Timer, animated. Okay, let me see. It's interval tolerance scheduler, no animation involved here. How do I animate this? it up quickly. Swift composable architecture. This assertion working. Okay, let's do it by looking through the case studies and why ones. Here we have getting started with animations. So we can basically on a scheduler, I see on the environment menu, we can basically specify the animation type. Then when we send an action, we can specify animation default. So we could try both of these. What other ways? Let's try them out. So let me see if I can find a scheduler that we have here. And just so scheduler, let's say if there's something with animation. Yes, let's see if that changes anything. Nope, it's still not getting animated. That doesn't work. Adding a value here. Start or continue and press effect timer every 1 second on main queue that animated. Should actually be correct place. Because we're not sending an action. We're calling timer ticked here, and we might want to somehow raise to effect. I think we can turn off the timer here in our stream countdown, I mean. Okay, I'm not sure how to animate that, so maybe that's the next step we want to do. Let me just write it down as a to-do. So we have done improve ugly UI to be simple, but still not great UI, and our UI has improved quite a bit, at least this part. Still not looking great, of course. That wasn't the goal, but we do have even a progress. With the progress, I have one problem. It doesn't have any padding, so maybe we just want to add padding around the progress, just to see what that looks like. But it can only get better. Yeah, okay. One problem we have is the height of this. It seems to be set to a specific height. Is that on purpose? Do we have anywhere of frame? Yeah, it's here. Width and height. Let's do height 800. I think that was the issue there. But even with 800, maybe it's better. Okay, that looks much better. This is jumping around now. This is definitely something we want to fix. And we're going to document both of these things. So next, what we want to do is prevent the reflection part of the window, on Mac at least, jump around when starting a timer due to progress view showing. That's the one thing, and we want to animate the progress view. Animate the progress view value changes. Can barely hear you over the music. Seriously? Original tank. Thank you for joining, but is it still the case? Can you still not hear me? Let me check the mic. I could make the music. I think it's the mic. So somehow the mic isn't at the same level as it used to be. So my settings is somehow getting broken. I will check it after the stream. I mean, this is the end of the stream anyways, but thank you for the pointer and welcome to the stream. I will definitely check that right after the stream. Let me quickly finish this part and let me just make the music a little less now. Okay, I hope that it got a bit better now. So what we were writing down is just what we want to do next. So these are the two next steps we want to do, and I think we want to do these before we fix all the other warnings. So let's just move this at the bottom. And what else did we do? So we did actually do some things, and let's commit that also. So we have changed the height here. This is just a small thing. We have documented. We have written in another warning we want to fix. This one is not needed. This was just something I played around with, but we have added the spacer and the progress view plus set the height in the previews. So basically improved the top spacing in timer view plus, and we want to stay with the imperative style, improve plus add progress view, not timer, progress view. That's basically what we did, and we can push that. And let's also make sure that we have these things documented in our document. So that's something we just did. Before that, we created a new view of preview variants, but we did also label the start button, change it to continue, replace single. Yeah, we replace it with a text editor. We forgot to put them all in. Improve text fields, UI looks. I see there is a issue. I could actually reword this message. It should be improve, not improves. Obviously I'll have then many commits, and it's even saying that I have that's because I have Xcode open. That was my fault. Xcode is automatically doing weird things if you're rebasing and things like that. Let me abort this. Let me try again. Reword message. Make it remove only. Oh, it was not because of Xcode. It was because action view for it. Anyways, it's not that important. I'll just keep it. This is not a Git stream. I don't want to play around with Git issues, errors. Improve text field UI looks on macOS. That's what we did. And the step before that. Yeah, I think that's basically what we have already written down here. Cool, that's what we did, and this is what we plan to do next. These were the blockers we had, and as learnings, I would say probably the story behind the previews. Okay, Xcode is closed now. Open that again. That's definitely learning, and we can also share that. I will probably make a Twitter post about this view extension. So preview variants view extension. Learned how to write a useful preview variants function for multi-platform. So for macOS and iOS together, we have this preview, and it's really nice. And I think this is it for this stream. So I'm closing it up here, and for the end, just as a reminder for everyone who have joined in later, quick shout out to basically my socials. So if I do write blog posts from time to time, and I have written about different topics just one day ago and a few other days ago. Like I try to publish one article per week, and I'm planning to also write one article about my whole streaming setup and like the motivation why I'm streaming, the hardware setup, and also the software setup, like the tools and the settings I have. Yeah, I will share that here. So please follow me on jihad.medium.com if you don't do that already. Then let me give you the link. Then I am available on Twitter at jihad. Feel free to follow me there as well. And you'll find my YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe. It's called Flying Deaf. Now let me quickly check also if there's anyone streaming right now who's developing, because I'd love to actually rate other iOS streamers, and on Friday there is a chance that somebody is actually streaming, so let me see for that. And there's nobody streaming, so that's that. Thank you then very much for everybody who has joined in. Thank you everyone for following. Also the subscribers from today's stream, thank you very much, it's much appreciated. So I'll be back probably next week on Wednesday, but I'm also considering maybe changing my schedule, so make sure to check my Twitter to make sure, but I will most probably be back next week Friday latest with another stream. And don't forget that I do some reviews, so I have an offer for indie developers to ping me on Twitter if they want me to review their apps. And you can find my old reviews here, like the Barcodes app that I reviewed last time, for example. So I'm trying to give a first impressions review of the app, like a user who's just the first time opening their app in detail. And I am also offering now newly code reviews, so if you want me to refactor your code or rate your code, ping me on Twitter and I'll have a look and we can make this happen together. So that's that. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day, have a nice evening, and see you next time. Bye.